Hi, this is Pokket with MMORPG, and I'm here with John from CCP. Now, can you explain what you do with the game?
Yeah, sure. I'm the senior producer of EVE Online, which basically means that in terms of developing the game and keeping it rolling and getting it out to our players, I'm the guy who runs all of that. So.
Awesome. Now, EVE's been out for quite a while now, and you guys have just accomplished so much. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about your accomplishments?
Yeah, sure. So we celebrated EVE's 9th birthday in March. And it's been a really exciting 9 years. We've grown as an MMO every single year that we've been live, and we've just released our 17th free expansion. So Inferno, that came out a couple of weeks ago in May. And yeah, things are really building for us. We're on the verge of having more subscribers than we've ever had before. We're sort of looking at a day by day at the numbers, and it's getting closer and closer. So yeah, we've got a really vibrant, really good space MMO, which people are, even now, 9 years on, are still able to start and get involved in and really make a difference in the world.
Now, you mentioned Inferno, so can we talk about some of the features of Inferno?
Yeah, sure. So we did an awful lot of renovations to systems which were no longer relevant, and we also did quite a lot on the artwork as well. So we worked around a couple of major systems. So there's a war declaration system, and then there's factional warfare. And really what factional warfare lets us do is introduce newer players to the game into really what it means to play in a sandbox. So EVE is all about the players making their own stories. And as you get further and further into the game, the possibilities for you to create your own sort of empire and lead thousands of people all working towards a common cause, whether that's a good or a bad one, is absolutely in the hands of the players. But that can be quite daunting when you first start the game. So factional warfare is really a stepping stone for newer players to team together, to work towards a common cause, and to actually invest their time and effort into building a place for them to call home. And we've seen since we've refreshed the whole factional warfare with Inferno, that actually the participation, the number of people who are getting involved in PvP and getting involved in just joining these factional warfare corporations has really shot up.
Now, moving on, obviously Dust 514 is going to be involved in this, but how exactly is it going to be involved?
In more and more ways as we go on. So we're starting off and we're just taking it very, very carefully. No one's ever done this before. This is the first time that anyone's ever brought a PC MMORPG together with a PlayStation 3 first-person shooter, all living within the same world, where literally within a game you can influence each other. You can shoot from ships in EVE down into Dust, and you can shoot from the planets up into EVE at the same time. It's all happening live in this one world. And factional warfare, which we brought in with Inferno, is the first piece that we're really linking. So right now, EVE players will be able to get into factional warfare and fight against the enemy of their faction. And take over systems, take over solar systems and their resources, and build up their own infrastructure in there. And as soon as Dust 514 moves and goes onto our live single shard server, you'll then have Dust mercenaries able to fight for those same factions on the planets, whilst people are fighting in the skies above them, in order to really work together and drive this forward. And the key thing really is that it is a single shard. So this is only happening in one place. It's only, if you're in a battle, you're really in that battle. There aren't copies of it going on anywhere else. So every shot that you fire in space or on land really does make a difference.
Okay, so now for people who might not have tried EVE, or perhaps they tried but they got a little intimidated. Now, I know you mentioned factions, but are there other elements that you think that will bring people into this game and they're like, oh my gosh. Now, what features do you think that would be that would just basically attract new people that perhaps weren't interested at first?
I mean, one of the biggest draws of EVE is just the really rich science fiction backstory. I mean, the opportunity to do whatever you want in this kind of universe is something which anybody who's watched, Babylon 5 or Star Trek or any of these really great sci-fi shows, you get the opportunity to really carve out your own way in the game. A lot of people find that quite intimidating. There isn't a class system. There isn't a CCP employee
not
holding
theme
you by
park.
the hand.
Yeah.
It's a sandbox. We basically have created a big set of tools for people to use to craft their own destiny. And that often has been quite a tricky thing for people to get their head around. But once they do, the possibilities, they can be a bounty hunter, they can be a mercenary, they can lead people and build great empires and infrastructures. They can be a thief. They can they can spy. I mean, some of the greatest stories that we've had are from people who've spent huge amounts of in-game time to work their way into a corporation and then undermine it at a moment's notice and destroy it. And this is part of the great interplay in EVE, is that there's this constant fight between, can I trust you? But if you do trust someone, then the power you get from working together is incredibly huge. So I would say to any new player coming into EVE, I would say you can be whatever you want to be. The hard thing for them to do is to really choose a direction that they want to take. And right now we recognise that it's called the learning cliff in EVE. It's a very hard game to sort of get into right now. And whilst we want a good, hardcore game, we don't want you to have to bleed to learn how to play it. So we're doing a whole load of work now over the summer to sort of smooth that process out so that new players have an easier introduction to the game. But it's still a hardcore game. It's not the first game you ever want to play on the internet.
Now, what feature is your favorite in EVE?
Oh wow, that's actually a really mean question. So I've been playing for 7 years now, and I've probably done a little bit of everything in the game. And honestly, for me, one of the things that I love is just getting online with my friends. And there's about 15 or 20 of us, and we'll get online and we'll just take a small gang of 15 or 20 out, and we'll just go roaming looking for trouble. So we'll just go into sort of the lawless parts of space where anything goes. All our new players will start off in high security space where things are safer. Nothing's ever always safe, but things are safer there. But we tend to go off into the Wild West and just look for trouble, look for getting into spaceship fights where the organization and those social links that you build with people really are the essence of EVE, which is if you get in,
game.
yeah, absolutely. If you get in with a good corporation, you get in with a good group of people who you can play with, you'll really truly experience all the great things that EVE has to offer.
Has it ever backfired, going into space?
Oh yeah. So many times I've just had everything blown out from under me, and there's sort of this day's silence.
Maybe we shouldn't have attacked that.
Yeah, I get that a lot, and sometimes you get that Leroy Jenkins moment where it's just like, let's just go for it, and you take a few people down, but you sometimes lose everything with you, and that's the thing. I mean, and I guess that for me is the best thing about EVE, which is win or lose, you have these encounters and you're shaking because the adrenaline's there, because loss means something, and so winning means something. And it's not like, oh, if I die, I'll just respawn somewhere else and nothing's been lost. You're really putting your hard work and effort on the line. And you're putting your prestige and you're putting your status in the game. And so, win or lose, you come out of these sessions. And honestly, I try not to play it really late at night because I can't sleep afterwards. You just get this mad adrenaline rush. And it's just like, do I do more or do I try and calm down? And that feeling for me, I've never had from a game before. So that's a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
I really need. See, because I'm kind of a noob, so I tried it out. I was one of those. I got intimidated, and obviously I need to go back and just do it. I did play a sandbox MMO, Ultima Online.
Yep.
Whenever loss still meant something there.
Yeah.
And so I know that feeling of, oh my god, I'm about to die. Oh my god,
Yeah.
run.
Well, a lot of the original designers played a lot of Ultima Online, and that was actually sort of part of the inspiration for what we were trying to do, which is, there is this feeling of, it's not ponies and rainbows and nice, happy land.
So there's no unicorns.
There are no unicorns, I'm afraid.
Darn it.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I think I've just heard our art director's head pop.
So explain to me, as someone who's not very familiar, the Titan and what that meant building the Titan ship.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to the CSM. We've actually got a group of player-elected players who represent our entire player base to us, the developers. So they were in Reykjavik last week, and we actually had 3 days of conversations where we talked to them about everything that's been going on. We were having dinner one night, and I was speaking to the chairman of the CSM, and I was talking about when the first Titan had ever been created, and it was, I hate to think how many years ago, maybe 2006, and he was saying, oh wow, you remember that moment. We had this kind of shared memory because it was a big thing. Because it took 2,000 people,
Amazing.
build all the infrastructure, to build the shipyards, to to bring all the raw materials, to gather those raw materials, to build them, and then to have, frankly, the balls to pilot this thing. And then they produced this amazing homemade video of just showing the ship, and everybody in Eve just stopped and went, oh my God, you guys actually did it. And for some people, they were like, wow, I want to join your alliance and be part of it. Other people, they just painted the biggest bullseye ever on this thing, and people were going for it. And other people were like, oh wow, that's really cool. And some people went, nah, I don't care.
Yeah.
And you had all of these, all of this great story and all of these reactions purely built from the players going through this. And that was amazing. And then months later, when it got espionaged out and destroyed and whatever, there was a huge moment of like, oh my God, a Titan has been killed. And one of the things that we're constantly having to work on is, as the game gets older, we're constantly trying to refresh it. We're constantly adding content into it, because we've got players who've been playing this game for 9 years, and we need to make sure that whilst we're still catering for all the people who come in new every day, and our subscriber numbers are going up every day now. We also need to make sure that we look after our experience, our long-term players, because they're often those sort of social hubs that people can congregate around and get the most out of Eve. Because Eve you won't get the most out of as a single-player game. As soon as you get in with a group of people who you like and who you can get on with, and it's worth really spending a bit of time to find the right people to play with. I brought a lot of my friends in to play with me, so it was pretty easy, and we all just sort of came in together and started up and actually were able to do well for ourselves. That's when you really experience Eve, is when you're going through these experiences with other people, and you meet up with them in real life.
That's just amazing. 2,000 people can actually band together to do one thing.
Oh, I know. And we've seen alliances of 4,500 people, 5,000 people all working towards a common cause. And the people who run these corporations, some of them are people who would never get an opportunity to run a 5,000-person group in real life. But they have these skills, they have this leadership, and they can bring people on and do amazing things in our game.
That is just amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to answer our questions.
Thank you very much.